This week on Cage Side Seats, the podcast, we're talking Becky Lynch, more dumb name changes, and the top guys.
Welcome to Cage Side Seats, a podcast. We don't have a good name, but we do have great opinions. I'm your host, Stella Cheeks, and with me, as always, is Marcus Benjamin.
Stella! Okay, I just did that.
Oh, thank you. That's actually my burlesque tagline. My tagline is making men scream her name in the streets, Stella
Well, there
Cheeks!
you go. Well, once again, we are in sync. We are simpatico. Yes. How are you, Stella? How are you, podcasting listeners, audience, people?
I am okay, and I am trying to be positive about wrestling, and I'm going to try and be real nice on this podcast whilst also being a critic, but in a nice way. I don't want to be negative all the time.
We don't, and that's why we've developed a short-ish show because to be honest, wrestling, I'm just going to jump the gun. Didn't feel that great about wrestling this week. So as a result.
But that's not even true. It's just, we say this every week, the lows are so low that it kneecaps the highs. Because Raw the past couple weeks has actually been pretty good. I wouldn't say it was outstanding, but it's like for a 3-hour-long show, it's pretty bearable.
It's entertaining. It's one of the things. It's like, you know what, Raw? You cleared your bar.
Yeah, Raw.
And it's all I need for you to do is clear that bar, baby. I don't need you to jump over it like you're competing for the Olympics. But I just need you to clear it like you're in a trial. So yeah, cool. You cleared the bar, and you're right. Raw was entertaining for the past couple weeks. I was entertained.
Been pretty good. AEW's been pretty consistent. It's just, boy, Tuesday nights are really kicking my butt.
Tuesday is. We're going to get to Tuesday. Tuesday's another thing altogether.
But the good thing about wrestling is even if the shows are weak or they have weak spots, it's wrestling. There's drama everywhere. You don't even have to watch the shows to deal with drama. This week, we had Becky Lynch do an interview where she hardcore dunked on the AEW women's division and was like, hey, at WWE, we're doing it better. Like, it is what it is. Our roster is kicking butt. We're actually on TV. We're actually getting screen time. And we're actually telling compelling stories. And you know what? She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. No, I would take issue with the compelling story thing. I think anything Becky's in is a compelling story.
Right.
I think the rest of them just sort of get whatever's left, but that's also just indicative of wrestling as a whole, unfortunately.
I think the thing that, neither of the divisions are perfect, right? But with WWE, they at least, just like with the Roman thing, right? Like, all the men's storylines in WWE, not all of them are good. Let's be real. But the ones on top are very good. It's like they have really good top stories for the men and for the women. And then just like, it's terrible trickle down economics.
I was about to say, would you say that there is would you say that there is inequality and an inequality gap in wrestling, and that the top 1% get everything while the 99 just get whatever's left? Would you say a rising tide does not lift all boats?
But the thing, at least that's true, is that the WWE women overall get more screen time. So even if the stories are maybe not all amazing or compelling, the fact that there are consistently multiple matches or segments. There was a SmackDown a week or two ago that was like, there were a lot of women's segments, but there was zero women's wrestling. And like, it can't be a one or the other. It's got to be both. It's got to be both for it to, that's my wrestling Bechdel test. There has to be at least one match and at least one segment in minimum, period. But at least with the WWE, like, and NXT, even though it has faults, there's multiple women's segments.
Yes.
And with AEW, Jade Cargill's out here killing it. And Britt Baker is back. And, Britt is great. But, like, Thunder Rosa had her match at Battle of the Belts, wasn't on TV the week after that. And then last night was just watching a TV screen. Like, let her cut a promo.
Hold on. She was watching my girl. So it is okay. If she was watching anyone.
His girl, as a reminder, is Serena Deeb.
Yes, because she was watching Serena, it is okay. If she's watching
But
someone else, I would take umbrage.
But even when
Yes.
Roman is sitting there watching TV, he still gets like a segment. He talks
And
about it. He's
yes,
confirmed.
yes,
Like
yes.
if Thunder Rosa had been watching it, and then one of the interviewers came up and was like, "Hey, Thunder Rosa, champion, what do you think about this? Are these two, women? Are you looking out for just something,
And it would have been great since Tony apparently does nothing but step backstage and interview everyone. Like if they just had Tony back there since he's just hovering around. Hey, champ, Serena's number one contender. She just beat Sheeta. What do you think? What's up?
Sheeta in
Like
her Pretty Woman outfit. That's not my joke. My friend Warwick Johnson made that joke, and I was like, "Oh man, you are right."
That's perfect. That is perfect. But Becky's right. And I know there was some not blowback, but there was some defensiveness from one Dustin Runnels. I'm sorry, Dustin Rhodes. Whatever, Dustin Runnels.
The natural.
The natural about it, and um, I don't know, like he had issues. I mean, I get it. I get why he had his issues. I get what he was talking about. His whole thing is like, hey, look, we're trying. Be patient, etc., etc.
Don't tell me to be patient after several years.
Yeah, and what I said in our Slack and what a lot of people say when they're talking about AEW and specifically is it would be different if AEW didn't come out and talk all that good talk before they even had a product. There was a whole bunch of equality talks. There was a whole bunch of we're going to give the women just as much time as the men. We're going to make it paramount. Women's wrestling. There was a whole talk about just minorities across the board, would be it women, black people, brown people. Like we're gonna make
queer
AEW,
people.
Yeah, queer people. We're gonna make AEW look like the world, and obviously, as Tony Khan would tell us from his Twitter feed, they haven't gotten to all those goals. Obviously, look at Big Swole. She's both a black woman, and both a black person. So how did that go? How did we handle that?
It's just they set goals that they didn't hit, and then they get mad when people point and say like, okay, but what is this? And
yes.
You just set yourself up. And like, again, WWE is not perfect. AEW is not perfect. Both companies have room to grow, but everybody gets so defensive, and it's like, maybe you should get off Twitter and go like, I don't know, write a better storyline.
Right, rather than saying, as Dustin said, calm down, IWC. No, dude, just go do the thing that you're doing. Like Dustin, if Dustin is doing all this work with all these women wrestlers behind the scenes, and I don't doubt that he is, great. But spend your time doing that rather than talking to me about it. Brian,
it doesn't matter what you're doing behind the scenes if they don't get screen time. Period.
Exactly.
Britt Baker is incredible, and yes, she did a lot for that women's division. 75% of it is because she's a really good wrestler, a good performer, good on the mic, whatever. 25% of it is because they actually put her on TV.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if you're a good wrestler, if you're good if you're cutting promos and nobody can see it because they don't watch Dark or whatever. Like, for better or worse, like, the WWE women get more time than the AEW women. That's just a fact, period.
And that time helps them all become better. It lifts that rising tide does lift all boats. It's a circular in that story.
But keeping with this topic, neither company is perfect. Despite people in our comments on Cage Side or our responses on Twitter, I'm not a mark for either of the companies. I'm a mark for wrestling. WWE's not perfect either, per this Ember Moon interview.
So Ember did an interview today, as of this recording, I believe.
Or Athena. We should respect her
fair.
Her
yes,
name
Athena.
Change.
Yes, Athena did an interview, explaining the last days in WWE/NXT. And without getting into all of the details, one, because it's her story and you should go listen to her tell her story.
Where could they listen to that story, Marcus?
Which is what two, you should visit CagesideSocials.com to read her story and then get a link to her telling her story. This is what we do, people. We know what we're doing. And Athena says essentially she was upset when Shotzi was taken to the main roster right after they won the NXT women's tag titles. I understand that upset.
And
She
because they were
was
a cool tag team.
yes, and she said
I
yeah,
loved them as a tag team. I was full on board. I was like, "Yes, let's do this. The Tank,
right.
we got like a girl who loves monsters, a girl who's kind of a werewolf. Let's do this."
Right, and it was cool, and she said they were hitting their stride, they were selling merch, and then boom, she's gone, just like that. And then she was even more upset by the fact that Shotzi had nothing to do when she was on the main roster.
Yep,
So it
still
was like, so
doesn't.
you yeah, so it's like you took my tag partner away to, sort of graduate her, and then you gave her nothing to do. Okay. Then she was given this whole loser thing, and I remember she cut that promo, and she was like, "I know what I need to do," and she was going to come back better than ever, et cetera, et cetera. Apparently, her
Yeah, it
and
was a
Triple H
good
were
promo.
yeah, her and Triple H were working on this thing where she was going to eventually turn heel. That's what all the losing was for. Okay, cool. And then that didn't happen because, as we all know, Triple H was shortly gone.
Yes.
Shortly gone thereafter. Terrible sentence, but you know what I'm saying. And then Vince sends down word. Okay, well, he wants you on the main roster, and he wants you back as regular Ember Moon, who was on the main roster. Cool. Okay. Dye your hair, come back as that character. Awesome. She produces a video on her own explaining sort of where Ember's been and where Ember wants to go for the future. Then, while she's ready to hand the video in, someone comes in and says, "We got some bad news for you. Vince wants you off TV indefinitely." Did you do anything wrong? No, no, no. You didn't do anything wrong. Just Vince wants you off TV indefinitely. And she says, you know what? That was it for her. She decided after years of thinking about quitting, it was just the time to finally do it. She, in her own words, which you can read at CagesideSocials.com, got tired of eating shit sandwiches. And you know what? Good. Good for
Yeah,
her.
especially seeing people like Tony Storm be like, "I'm done, goodbye."
Yep,
Or like
exactly.
other people leave and then get to do good stuff on the indies, maybe go to AEW, go to NWA, whatever. Like Ember Moon, I live in Chicago, right? And her and Thunder Rosa had a couple like banger matches at a couple indie shows here. Like Athena is a really good wrestler, and like WWE did not use her to her full ability at all. Full stop, period. Never. So I'm excited that we talk about this all the time, but know your worth, right?
Yep.
Athena said, "I know my worth. I'm done. Bye." And I respect the hell out of that.
And I respect it even more because it was clearly affecting her mentally and emotionally. Get out. It's not worth it. It's not, like, be done with it. And to bring all that into a nice little bow and package, yes, WWE is great with their women. Not great. WWE is better with their women than AEW. But as we keep saying, and we say every week, both companies have a lot of room to grow when it comes to true representation.
I'm still waiting for WWE Evolution 2.
Haha, well, we know that's, well, you know what? Ronda's back now, so that might happen.
I was there. I flew to flippin' Long Island for that show. Okay. I'm wearing my WWE Evolution hoodie right now. I didn't plan that. I'm just
I
wearing it.
remember you talking about that on Not Your Demographic. I remember that whole thing. Yeah, it was a good show. It was fun. And then I remember the rumors that we put it on cSices.com that another Evolution show wouldn't happen because, Ronda wasn't there. So there was no point to it. Funny how that
I'm
works.
on a moratorium of complaining about Ronda Rousey, so we will not be discussing Ronda Rousey and her fundamental lack of understanding about professional wrestling or what her job is. Full stop. Period. Also, sidebar. Okay, I said I wouldn't make fun of her, but like whatever. A 30-second tangent. Whoever is doing her hair is a menace, and I love you. They let her walk out with weird braids in her hair that she looked like she fell asleep at a sleepover, and the kids were like, "Ha, let's braid her hair while she's sleeping." And then she like woke up and was like, "Shit, I'm late for work," and then just walked out with like a nightmare on her head. Like whoever is her makeup hair artist deeply hates her, and I love it.
It'd be funny if it was her.
Well, you know what? We all have issues with self-love every now and again. So
Yeah, yeah.
all right,
She should see a therapist for that. Yeah.
let's go over to our rumors. Speaking of WWE nonsense, see, we're not AEW bootleggers here or WWE bootleggers here. There's a rumor that WWE really, really wanted FTR back, and then they were like, "Oh, never mind, we don't want that."
Right. So basically, it boils down to earlier in the week, like Stella said, comes out. WWE really, really, really wants FTR. FTR addresses it on a podcast without completely addressing, because as they've said before, hey, we're under contract. We're not going to really speak about what may or may not happen while we're under contract with someone else. Cool. They then went to speak about it.
Yeah, they're wrestlers. Wrestlers
Yeah,
literally cannot help themselves.
they're
Wrestlers
messy.
are the like comedians of the sports world. They're like, attention, I'll say whatever you want.
Right. They're all drama queens. All of them. All of them. I love them for it. And they say what everyone's thinking. Like, why would we go back to a company
That treated us
that
like that made us eat shit sandwiches.
yeah, right, that has no respect for tag team wrestling? And then they even said, we really wonder, do they want us or do they just want us so AEW can't have us? And then of course later in the week it turns out, nah, WWE is like, nah, we don't want y'all. So either they didn't want them, and now either they never really wanted them to begin with, and that was just a rumor, or they wanted them, and then someone was like, never mind, that's okay. Or
Never mind.
they're not going to come, so let's not even bother. Yeah. Either
Yeah,
way.
let's save face before we're embarrassed.
Yeah, either way, good for the top guys for one, holding their ground. I mean, I can't say holding their ground. It's a rumor, and it's not even a thing that exists. But good for them
them
for at
to
least,
be like, hey, we're doing our job right now, so we're just going to keep doing our job.
yeah, and also for being savvy enough to say, do they really want us, or they just want us so they can't have us? Much like anyone in a high school relationship. I don't want you, but I also don't want anyone else to have you. So therefore, I'm just going to hold on to you. Yeah. WWE high school relationship. That makes all the sense in the world.
Wrestling, high
Yes.
school.
Yep.
Wrestling high.
Well, we are going to talk about Randy Orton later. So,
all right. One final thing.
So also on the WWE rumor front from this one from months ago, Stella and audience, did you remember when Nick Khan, he of WWE, not of the Tony Khan of AEW, came out and said that there was talks, there were thoughts of them doing something big with New Japan, and this is when Bryan Danielson was still there, and the rumor was, hey, part of being able to keep Bryan was working with New Japan because Bryan really wanted to work with New Japan. And Tony Khan, he of TK and AEW fame, specifically came out and cut promos and said, no, that's laughable, blah, 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 whatever. Tony said that's not going to happen. He chuckled at it. And he even went on Impact and chuckled at it. Well, the rumor today.
Remember when they were trying to make that a thing?
Yeah, I remember that. That was the thing he was on. Yeah, he was the Mr. McMahon of Impact. That was funny. So the rumor today is New Japan apparently, and this is according to Sports Illustrated, so it's got to be legit. New Japan were the ones who told Tony Khan that Nick Khan was talking all this trash, and they encouraged Tony to cut these promos in Impact.
Speaking of high school.
Exactly.
Did you hear what Nick Khan said? Tony Khan? New Japan was like, I want to feel like the prettiest girl at the dance. I'm going to stir some shit.
Right. Did you hear what so apparently he wants to date me, but we're also kind of dating you. If I were you, I wouldn't stand for that. I would go say something because, you can't have them just
you have to
you
prove
like that.
your love to me because I'm fielding several offers.
And then I'll decide who I'm going to prom with.
I'm going to write an epic fanfic and put it on AO3, but it's just the companies of WWE, New Japan, and AEW in a love triangle.
So obviously we got, last week we got the big news that New Japan and AEW were doing a joint show.
Forbidden Door.
Yep. And look, I think all this is hilarious. I don't know whether there's any truth to this. I mean, obviously Sports Illustrated is, reputable, but it's wrestling rumors. So who knows? But I think it's hilarious that New Japan was basically just, doing that, just being like, yeah, you should do something about that. You should go holler at them. Like, that's not cool that they're just talking about you like that. You cool with that, Tony? You gonna let them disrespect you like that? Nah, you're not gonna no. go do that. Like, I think that's hilarious that they instigated the entire thing. But it also does show that Nick Khan and WWE as a whole I don't know whether they felt any or feel any pressure from New Japan and AEW working together. They probably don't, not at this point. But they clearly felt something that they needed to insert themselves into this relationship and create a wedge, whether it be real or imaginary. I think that's fascinating, and that's probably the machinations behind the scenes with these three companies for the next few years, or however long we have this, will probably be more interesting than the actual stuff on television.
Hashtag business intrigue.
Yep. Yes. Yes.
All right. What's living rent free in your head this week, Marcus?
So I said we were going to be positive. I said we were going to be positive, but this is in my head for just I can't let this go. The Braun Breaker and Joe Gacy thing. I don't know. It's in my head because I can't wrap my head around the fact that it exists.
It's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. I can get behind Supernatural. I can suspend my disbelief. What is happening here?
I don't know.
At first, he was like a faux liberal, positive, safe space, and then he was like really skirting the line of like maybe we're like a bad cult. Take with that what you will. And now it's like we kidnap dads and now we're spooky. Like I want to know the WWE costume like archives person who every 6 months or every year or so gets a call and it's like, hey, we need you to get the cult robes out. And they're like, okay, I'll get. Do you want them washed? No. Don't worry about washing them. We just need the druid. Just like, just spray some Febreze on them. It doesn't matter. Okay.
I mean, it's even worse because they bring them out for the stupidest stuff. So here, like you said, we're kidnapping dads, but then we're letting dads go. Then we're stealing rings. Then we're giving rings back. Then we're introducing cult members. Then the cult members are beating up Braun or doing something to Braun, and then Braun's apparently injured, but then Braun's not injured. And then Rick Steiner just comes out by himself to address the man who kidnapped him. By himself. Braun apparently was in the back and said, yeah, that's cool, Dad. Go out there and go do that, Dad. That's fine. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. None. And it's the main story.
It's the main story. And Joe Gacy, like, whatever. What they're writing for him doesn't work for me. I think it's in poor taste. It's not funny. It doesn't make, like, you can do an annoying liberal character. Just because I happen to be liberal, I'm not going to be like a baby about it. Daniel Bryan did an amazing annoying liberal person.
Daniel Bryan
does it every week.
Yes, and I think they're both hilarious. Even if they're making fun of, like, yeah, I'm a liberal, but they're making fun of the most extreme version of that. Right. I get it. It's hilarious. Yes,
that's fine. But it just was like not, it just missed the point. It was really like tone deaf. It wasn't working. And then all of a sudden he's magical. Like what issue did I miss? Like what? I watch this every week. That's the thing that really gets me with NXT. And I will, I'll just move up one of my lightning round things too. Like I was going to complain about like the name change to like Kaylee Ray name change and the case or Katana case, whatever, that name change. Like the thing that bothers me is like I watch NXT every single week. I have not missed an NXT like, or if I have, it's been like one and I go back and watch it because like it's my job, right? I'm not complaining about my job. I love my job. I watch every single week. I still am confused about what's going on, who is who. They're changing names, they're changing characters. Like, I get that you want to test stuff out, but there's no like transition period to anything. It's just like 1 week it's Kaylee Ray, and the next week it's this random thing or random name, which, yeah, cool. It translates to something cool in her native language. It didn't need to happen. If you were going to do a name change for her, you should have done it when she came from the UK, right? That's when you should have done it. Or you got to explain your name change in a backstage segment or whatever, or with the like storylines. Like where's the transition from Joe Gacy weirdo with a microphone to Joe Gacy cult leader? There's no build. It's just there and it doesn't make any sense. And Braun as champion was doing great. He won the championship. He lost it. He had a really good feud with Dolph Ziggler where we were like, we want Dolph Ziggler to stay at NXT. Oh my God, they're telling this great story. He won it back. great, really good. And then now all of that momentum gets kneecapped because they wanted to break out the druid costumes. Like, what the hell?
And not only that, but it seems like they also wanted to capitalize on the fact that they got a Steiner brother back. So like, well, we got to use
Yeah.
that. Like, no, you don't have to use it. Like, they and to your point about Braun, that's the thing that upsets me the most about it is he's their next guy, right? I think we
Right.
all kind of understand that. Why would you
And he's
handicap?
exactly the type that will succeed on the main roster too, right? Like
Yes,
he's a
yeah,
Vince is salivating, right? Why are you kneecapping this dude?
right. Like, why? Like, this is dumb. This is utterly dumb. And not only is it utterly dumb, it makes him look dumb. So I'm not even saying it's dumb.
It
I'm not
makes
saying he
him look
looks dumb because
so
he's in it.
dumb.
Yes, but it's just his actions are dumb. Again, your dad was kidnapped by this man. You are letting your dad go out and confront him with all these other druids at the ring? Like,
You just last week you got
what?
pushed off a balcony or whatever and you're fine. Like there's no follow-up. It's they tell these stories each week with this and then there's no follow-up the next week. It's just
Yep.
like it's like a weird reset. It's like a number 1 issue every week and I'm like, "Ah, what the hell? I don't care. Just
Now
tell
drawn
me a
by
story."
now drawn by JRJR. Hey, like, but hold up, but I was into it when someone else was
Ugh.
drawing it. No, that's over now.
It's just it's exhausting. And again, Braun looks stupid. Like he should
Mm-hmm.
just like there's no reason for him to step into all these traps and it doesn't even seem like he's doing it to like defend his honor or whatever. Like Braun looks like an idiot. He should
And
just stay
it makes
he
it hard,
looks
and
dumb.
that's my point. It makes it harder to cheer for him because wrestling fans will get behind a babyface who is gullible,
Right.
Sting, and they will cheer because they feel like, okay, well, hey, your heart's in the right place. Wrestling fans will get behind a babyface who always, swings for the fences, even if they miss. They'll get behind a babyface for a lot of reasons, but they will immediately boo that babyface the minute that babyface looks dumb. And Braun looks really, really dumb week after week right now, and not even. And it's worse because Joe Gacy's calling him dumb. So
Yeah.
so it's like, so you look dumb. The bad guy's calling you dumb. I kind of agree with the bad guy. Why am I cheering for
Yes.
you again?
WWE lately, specifically with NXT, but with a lot of things, like again, the name changes or like what they did to like Walter and like Imperium, like they are acting like we're stupid. And yeah, I get it. Wrestling has like, there's so much of it. The storylines turn over and whatever. But like, we're in an age where like not everybody, most people who watch are also on the internet, and there's a line between like what's real, what's not. Like we know what's going on, kind of more behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just do this stuff like we can't rewind it or can't just go on Twitter and see the machinations happening backstage or write stories where you think that we're like children and like yeah, wrestling's for children, but like a lot of adults watch it. Like you have to do stuff, you have to treat your audience with respect, and like NXT lately specifically makes me feel like they are treating me like a child. Again, I watch
Mm-hmm.
every week and some of the storylines and some of the characters are nonsensical to me. I frequently am Googling their roster because I'm like, that person is this person, right? Because it's so wild and inconsistent that I don't want to accidentally write somebody else's name and be like, yeah, okay, I'm just double checking because the names change and the stories change and the costumes
and
change and it's
and
like
well,
exhausting.
speaking of which, so what about Idris and Ofe? Like, what are they doing with him now? So they're doing the thing with him and Malik. Then you got Brazen Jensen, who were doing this dating thing, and now they're not. It's like they were trying to date Casey, and then they're not, and now
Well, her
they
name's
got to.
Katana now.
Right, I'm sorry. Yes, so they were doing that. Then they're not
Right?
doing
It's
that.
Katana. See, I'm just like, I gotta
No,
Google
you're
it.
right. You're right. You're
Okay.
right. And then they're getting beat up they're getting beat up by Von Wagner and crew because this woman comes to look at Jensen and he looks like, it's just, why? Like, finish something first.
Yeah.
and then get to the next thing.
The things that are working in NXT are, even if they're things that I don't necessarily click with, like we've talked before, I don't totally click with Toxic Attraction, but it works because it's consistent. And when they tweak stuff, it's little tweaks. The Wendy Chu stuff works. It's a silly gimmick, but they're consistent with it. The Lash and Nikita stuff, that's working. The Cora and Natty stuff, that's working.
Yes.
The Trick and Carmelo stuff, that's working. The Cameron Grimes stuff.
The Cameron Grimes stuff, yes.
Cameron Grimes, who has gone through a lot of transformations, but they do it in a way that they're telling a story, and it's a slow transition, so it works, right? But in their main event, they're just like, or their main belt, they're just making stuff up on the fly. Like, I don't know.
This is the last thing I'll say about that. This is the last thing I'll say before we move on. This ties back to Ember Moon and ties to something you just said about Toxic Attraction, and then just the whole of NXT. Ember also mentioned, and this ties into something that we talked about before that was just pretty obvious. She mentioned being told to be more sexual, be more provocative, dress a certain way for NXT, because they want them to emulate.
Because NXT 2.0 is like a weird, like, sexy show or whatever.
Yes, and she said they specifically mentioned, they want them to be like Mandy Rose, and she's like, no diss to Mandy Rose. Mandy's great at what she does, but there's only one Mandy. We all can't be Mandy. And she said, I'm supposed to appeal to children. Like, that's my whole thing. I'm not going to wear fishnet booty shorts. And I keep thinking about what would have happened if she just made that transition from the Ember who was teaming with Shotzi to this now sex pot who's wearing, booty shorts and fishnets. It would be weird. And
yeah, would it make sense?
Yeah, and because there was no actual thought put behind it, it's just, hey, start dressing like this. This is what we want to appeal to now. No. Even when WWF did that during the Attitude Era, there was a transition for those women, or it felt right. Like Sunny used to come out wearing a cheerleading outfit. Okay, she had on a mini skirt, she had on a tank top, tube top. Okay, cool. Then
but
she's
also
wearing.
That was like the vibe and stuff. And we say all the time in this like business, or like a common phrase in wrestling is like, the best wrestling gimmicks are your own personality turned up to 11, right? That's why it works for Mandy. Mandy, like, that's who she is. And they just turn it up, and that's great. She's good at it. It works for her. If Ember would have done that, it would have seemed disingenuous, and it would have been weird, and it wouldn't have landed.
And people would have booed it because they would have been like, this is bullshit.
And it's not because Ember's not like a sexy like woman.
No,
she
not
is.
at all.
Like,
I would love to see her wearing booty shorts and fishnets. No problem.
Like the Shotzi and Ember tag team was great because they were great wrestlers and they had cool similar vibes. But it was also great for me because I was like, I like them both a lot, and this is nice that they're on TV a lot. So like, no shade to Ember. Ember is beautiful, but she doesn't need to dress like a Mandy Rose, because that's not her personality, and it wouldn't have hit. We talk about Nikita. Nikita is somebody who, like, she dresses very provocatively, but it works because it is her turned up to 11 and roaring at the crowd because it's her. It works because it's her. It hits immediately because, yeah, she's really beautiful and bodacious, but it's also like, it is who she is. If Ember would have done that just because they told her, it wouldn't have worked. As we've seen time and time again. Didn't work for Liv Morgan when they put her in a bathtub. Didn't work for Emma when they just made her walk around in a dress. It worked for somebody like Eva Marie because that's her personality. Like, you can't just, whatever.
Yep. And that is one of the things living rent-free in my head.
Let's talk about positive things. Yeah. Living rent-free in my head, we had several comebacks this week that I'm very excited about. Asuka's back on TV. Mustafa Ali is back on TV. Phoenix is back on TV. These are like 3 wrestlers that I love. Very different styles and stuff, whatever, different shows. I'm just excited to see them all back. We've been saying for months, like, where is Asuka? Where is Asuka? Where is Asuka? She's been funny on Twitter, making memes, whatever. She comes out, Becky comes out looking like a sad cyborg because she doesn't have her
belt
title anymore. We don't want to see Becky back in the main picture, right? Because that would totally derail what's happening. And like, Bianca needs to face other people that are not Becky, and Becky needs to not have a belt for a while because Becky can't have a belt forever. And so Asuka, her old nemesis, but also old friend. Like last time they were in the ring together, I think, I could be wrong, but like is when Becky handed her the belt and was like,
That's
hey,
exactly the last time they
I'm
were in the ring together.
right. I'm pregnant. Here's my belt because you won the Money in the Bank and we're besties or we're friends or whatever. Or I know that you can handle the belt, whatever storyline you want to put on it. So, but now Becky was a babyface then, or at least she was basically like, I'm pregnant, so I'm going out a babyface. But they hug in the ring. Asuka's been gone. Asuka is going to get a huge cheer because we love her, right? So she's clearly babyface. Becky's sad cyborg, so she's like a heel. Asuka comes out. That's perfect. Great non-title belt feud.
Yep.
They already have history. They're both great wrestlers. Asuka does that hilarious nose flick. I don't know if you saw on her Twitter, but she has like a video of it like slowed down where you see like Becky's nose moving in like slow motion. It's very good. Asuka very much understands how to use the internet to her advantage. So that's great. I'm excited to see a good storyline with Becky, good wrestling with Becky that does not involve a belt. That is exciting to me.
It's also exciting.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It's also exciting because Becky mentioned in that promo, I don't know who I am without a title, which I thought was great because she said that about Charlotte when they wrestled, you know, like you don't know who you are without this thing. I'm still the man with or without this title. And now she's become the thing that she hates. Charlotte. And now she has to wrestle someone who, based on her reaction on Monday, she is terrified of. I thought Becky's reaction was perfect and hilarious. As soon as Asuka's music hit, she dropped that microphone. Like dropped it like it was like a kid dropping an ice cream cone, where it just fell in a perfect angle. She had a look on her face of, oh no, and
this is not what I wanted.
Right, like I talked about all these women who I'm better than. Oh my god, I forgot about her. Oh, okay, and now I don't know which direction you go. You know, like I don't. That's what I love about certain feuds. Like, for example, anything that Finn's doing right now, I know Finn's going to lose. All right, that's not interesting.
He walks out and you're like, oh man, this man. At least they let him do his, you know what? They haven't taken his entrance away from him. They let him do the whole thing. They let him do his little arms in the air. The crowd is happy for him. And then he gets his ass kicked. But at least they haven't taken his name away from him yet. Like he still gets his jacket. He still gets to be
the prince. All those things. He still got his logo. It's great. But with Becky and Asuka, because they're both, you know, they've both been to the mountaintop, because they're both very important to this company for different reasons. I don't know which one of them is going to win, and I don't know the shape that this feud is going to take. And that's very, very cool. And I love when wrestling is that. You know, we got a little something like that, just a little bit with Sammy Guevara and Scorpio Sky on the most recent episode of Dynamite, where they're doing a ladder match. And it's like, all right, I don't know which way you go here. Like, you know, Scorpio should be champion. Cool, because Scorpio's great. Sammy should keep the belt because he's a heel and he's getting a lot of heat right now. And that would be cool to have a heel TNT champion. You know, obviously they went with Scorpio. Like, I don't think that's the wrong decision either. It's just when I don't know which way you're going to go, then I'm invested. And
or if I do know, if I do know which way it's going to go, hopefully I know because it's like a compelling storyline reason. Like, oh, well, this makes sense. This is the person who should win. That
like
makes
Cameron
sense.
Grimes
And that's
winning that ladder match.
Yeah.
Right. Like while
or Thunder Rosa winning the belt.
Or
like,
Thunder Rosa winning
sense.
the belt. Yes. Or when we were all talking in our Slack when they had the TBS tournament. And we were like, well, it's got to be Jade, right? And we were all just like, well, it has to be Jade because, you know, like Jade's on this winning streak, and and a couple people were like, well, you know, she's still kind of green. It's like, yeah, but she'll get better. Like she's
boy has she.
Yeah, and we were all just like, yeah, but she'll get better. Like, but I think she has to get this belt because like she's killing it. Like just from a personality standpoint. And then they gave it to Jade. Like it just made sense. So I don't know, man. I'm just glad Asuka's back. Like you said, I'm just glad she's back. They really needed that. Raw needs people like Becky, Bianca, Sasha, Asuka. I mean, to me, I'm more interested in the women stars than the male stars at the moment for a lot of reasons. But Asuka, it's just Asuka in that division is just always different. She brings a flavor that none of them have. And it's something that WWE overall needs. And I can't wait for Monday.
I'm also really excited because Mustafa Ali is back, and
Mm.
obviously the drama with that, he asked for his release for good reason. He saw other people being like, "I'm done being," especially think about the Ember Moon situation or Athena situation. She records a video on her own to get over, and then they're like, "No, we can't do this." And Mustafa Ali is out here recording videos, cutting promos on Twitter, really like doing the work and getting stuff over. He did his best with that retribution angle, and it could have been better had they not made somebody named Slapjack and then made them all lose all the time. You know what I mean? Like
Slapjack.
Mustafa Ali could have gotten that over, and he did his damnedest, and he just couldn't because they weren't written that way. Like you can't get stuff over if everybody loses all the time, right? Like you just can't, right? He could have worked with Slapjack, but they made him lose all the time, so it didn't work. So he's put in a position where he makes shit work consistently, and then they don't treat him good, and so he asked for his release, and then hilariously, and I use hilariously in like mega quotes,
Mega quotes.
they release everybody
They
except for
released like
him.
they released to like 59 people. Yeah. And they
Yeah,
were like,
and then they're
except
like,
you,
"Nah,
Ali.
you
Yeah.
staying here." And
Yeah.
so then he was like, "I guess I'll see you guys in 2 years when my contract's up." So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was shocking to see him back or to hear rumors like, "Oh, he's coming back," because it really felt like they were like, "Yeah, we're just keeping you on contract because we are being petty little buttholes." And so
Mm-hmm.
to see him back, cutting a good promo, getting people cheering for him, hearing the pop for him, and then having him like win the match felt really good and
Yeah.
validating. And I hope that I hope they don't Finn Balor him. I want him to be able, like, if in a different company, Mustafa Ali could be like a top guy, right? He could have a belt. Like he's the one that launched Kofi Mania.
Yo.
Not that Kofi didn't deserve
Right.
that. Again, that's my
Right.
favorite WrestleMania moment of all time. Had to excuse myself and cry in the bathroom. Like it's like no shade to Kofi, but like he was also a part of that storyline. He's an incredible wrestler, an incredible personality, but he's never going to be the top guy there. So at least give him a good mid card like situation.
Eh,
Don't Finn Balor
I,
him.
so two things. Still a shame that we haven't gotten the Cody. I mean the Kofi. Cody. Oh boy. So we haven't gotten the Kofi and Mustafa
Right?
like
What?
story.
Where's that
Like
storyline?
ridiculous that they were sitting on that. Like it's the most
To look
obvious
at
story.
a good storyline, easy. You don't got to do any work. The video
Nope.
packages are practically already
Yep.
made. You
Yep.
know both guys can do it. You know that they'll deliver in the ring. They'll deliver on the mic.
Yep.
What the
Just that,
ah?
like, yeah, the fact that that didn't happen is sinful. Two, Ali in AEW is immediately in the main event picture.
Mhm.
I would love to see him hanging with Punk and actually put him in. You know, you could put him in Blackpool Combat Club. Like, just there's
Uh,
so many different places where he could go.
he
Whether
could
it's a
do anything.
yeah, and he is going to like. I'm glad that he's back. I'm not necessarily feeling the idea of him possibly getting fed to Theory, which it looks like we're going.
Yeah.
Um, you know, because that is Vince's boy. You know, one of the other rumors for this week is that Vince sees Theory, still a stupid name, as the next John Cena and wants to
Ugh.
give him all the tools that
And
he can to succeed.
Theory tried to cut like a promo on John Cena, and John Cena was like, "Cool, whatever." I'm literally like a big celebrity now. Who are you? I'll be gracious because that's my brand. Get off my timeline.
Yeah, I don't know you. I don't know her.
It was hardcore. I don't know you energy.
You know, like, and we talk about this all the time. I do hope this isn't some sort of retribution for, you know, for how dare you even talk about leaving the company. Now you're going to get fed to a guy, but that's for later. Let's be positive right now. It's good that he's back. I'm happy to see that he looks like he's in a good place emotionally, in a good place mentally, and definitely physically. And I'm looking forward to Monday again. See, there are two things to look forward to for Monday now. We got Asuka, we got Mustafa Ali. We're not going to have to celebrate Randy's 20th anymore. So, you know, we can get that out of the way, even though that was great. But still, you know, like we can get back to some actual, you know, storylines now. But yes, good. Good
And
things.
on Wednesday, I'm excited that Phoenix is back. He had that terrifying arm situation that miraculously didn't break. Phoenix is one of the best wrestlers in the entire world. He is incredible. I love that man. I love Death Triangle. Where House of Black doesn't hit for me, even though there's some wrestlers in it that I love. It's like not the spooky supernatural stuff doesn't work for me in that gimmick, mostly because any goodwill I had towards Malachi Black was really just stomped into the dirt during his run in WWE, and that's not his fault. But like, there's only so many times you can talk, spit like terrible poetry out of a closet before I'm like, you are a cartoon character to me forever. But the
Yeah, they
spooky
definitely
stuff,
put him in that closet. Yeah.
well, and he still kind of does it in AEW too, but there's like a smoke
Yeah.
machine in the closet, so like I guess
Yeah.
it's better.
And at least he's doing it where he's like standing up sometimes and he's walking towards the camera sometimes and he's doing it at a desk. Like they at least switch it up and give him some different
Yeah,
background.
sure. But the like angst and spookiness and like whatever in Death Triangle, chef kiss. I love it. Death Triangle fucks. It's so good. I'm so excited they're all back. I mean, Pac, one of my boys. Pac appreciation tweet every time he comes on my screen. Like, I love him. So him back, Penta being all spooky, Penta squirrel, and then Phoenix just being like, whatever, man, I'm Phoenix, I rule. Exciting. I love it. I'm excited that all of these three wrestlers whom I adore are back on my screen. And so far, we don't know, but so far, getting good stuff. So that's what's living rent free. See, I'm being positive.
And I want to see him in Buddy. Like after last time, I was like, I want to see that. I really want to see that. Yeah.
Yes. So we do have an audio recorded question from one of our listeners, Brad. So already, thank you in advance, Brad, for sending us an audio recording. I'm going to play it, and then we're going to answer.
What's up, guys? This is Brad from Philly. Just wanted to ask this since I caught my tickets to this event today. What do you think the main event of SummerSlam should be? Me personally, I want it to be Roman versus Randy for the title, because I think now is most definitely the best time to do it. But what I think it's actually gonna be is either Roman versus Cody for the title, or either Ronda versus Bianca in a title unification match. But I want to know what you guys think, and yeah, love this podcast. Thanks, guys.
I'm glad he loves the podcast. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the love. Do not ever mention Ronda and Bianca again. He put that in the universe.
I wish you guys could have seen Marcus's face when Brad said that. He was like, how dare that multiverse even exist?
So there's a scene in Star Wars where Obi-Wan has to like sit down when Alderaan explodes. That's how I felt. Where he just felt the tremor in the force as if 1,000 voices cried out at once and they're all silenced. That's exactly how I felt when he said it. Like, oh no. Oof, we don't need that. I don't want that. No. Keep her far away from Bianca. As far away as possible.
The thing. I don't mind them unifying the main title. I don't mind them unifying the men's tag belts. I really don't want them to unify the women's belts. They are actually telling multiple compelling storylines with the belts. The women haven't had multiple belts for a really long time. Like there's not history upon history of it. Like, I know the Universal Championship is like stupid or whatever, but like the women's division is actually doing stuff with the main belts, and if you take that away, then they just have one title and the tag belts, which they don't do anything with. If you unify the men's belts, you still get the men's belt, the main men's belt, the main championship, the IC championship, the other one, United States Championship. Theoretically, the 24/7 championship, though that is kind of an intergender one. But the women's division still deserves multiple belts. So I'm hoping we don't get a unification match there ever, please.
Yeah, I'm with you. To answer his question, I like Randy and Roman. Actually.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot too. Like if the Usos win the unification match between RK Bro, and so they take the titles, and then the Bloodline,
right? Or if they win, if they beat the Profits, because that's the next match,
right?
You know, whoever comes out of that gets the Profits.
But I'm just saying, so like the Bloodline has all the belts, and or not all the belts, but they have the belts. Randy Orton doesn't have the a belt anymore. He's mad that Roman and the Bloodline ruined his fun party with Matt Riddle because they're having a good time. Randy's having a good time. I say it, I tweet it all the time because like, who knew I needed like fun-loving Randy Orton to brighten my Monday nights, but like I love fun-loving Randy Orton. Like I like chill Randy Orton. Like good dad friend Randy Orton is very good. So maybe he's just like mad at Roman for like ruining his good time, and he's like, "Oh, I know that I'm good time Randy now, but remember those 20 years when I was like literally like a legend killer? I'm coming for you." I love that. I want to live in that timeline. But I think Brad is probably right. I think it's probably going to be no longer free agent Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, I mean, look, he set that up. He being Cody, they got to do it eventually.
He said, "Put it in my contract."
He probably did. He clearly is the biggest star on Raw, and I'm not saying he's the biggest star because we say so. I'm saying Vince says so. He's the guy on Raw at this moment. He wants the title. SummerSlam is, the next huge event coming up. The logo looks very fancy. So, yeah, I would prefer Randy and Roman for
I
all
hope
the
we
reasons
can get to it eventually.
I do like this idea of Randy having to go back to who he was to beat this guy.
You took my fun time away. Now I must kill you.
And even playing with the idea that I could even hear Roman saying
it's like a John Wick storyline.
Yes.
Matt Riddle is the dog. Roman.
So Randy, are you back? I'm thinking I'm back. and even I could hear Roman saying, Randy Orton from 2010, 2015, 2017 even. That Randy Orton could beat me. 2022 Randy Orton, no. Nah, he can't.
Dollar store streamers, Randy Orton? No.
Right. Nah. Right. Randy Orton out here partying and laughing and having fun and all of that and calling people his friend. That Randy Orton can't beat me. I'm on God mode right now, son. Where you at? I can see that. And I can see that being a really excellent story between the two of them. How Roman continues this march to inevitability. Roman is basically Thanos at this point. And Randy finding his
glove.
He's oh, shit. He does. And Randy having to go back to being who he used to be. As Dr. Dre once said, y'all gonna keep messing around with me and send me back to the old me. Like that's what's gonna happen for Randy to beat this guy. And I love that. There's nothing compelling about Randy and Cody now. I mean, about Roman and Cody. Nothing is compelling.
Nothing compelling about Randy and Cody or Roman and Cody anyways, other than the fact that like, oh, Cody Rhodes is back.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And Cody's, and it's, I gotta beat you, Roman, for my daddy. Which again, no diss to Dusty. But just from a story standpoint, Randy's the better option.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say. So thanks again for the question, but yeah, that's where we want to go.
All right, quick lightning round. I kind of already touched on one of mine. These name changes are out of control. I'm tired of them. If you wanted to own their IPs, you should have done it in a smoother way. I'm sick of it. I hate writing Gunther. I'm gonna hate not writing Kaylee Ray. The Katana thing, sure, whatever. I honestly barely know their names anyway.
You don't know them. Yeah.
Yeah. They're a good tag team. I like their wrestling, but I'm always like, oh yeah, these guys, they exist. Okay, cool. Whatever. Anyways, that thing is really annoying. The one thing that I want to talk about too, so the Inspiration, aka the Iconics, they announced that they are stepping away from in-ring action, so they're no longer going to be an Impact. They made it sound like they are like done wrestling. They're not going other places. So, make choices for your own lives. Like if you guys are done, you guys are done. That's a bummer as a fan because I think that they're both incredibly talented and funny and whatever. But if that's what they want to do because they want to pursue other options, good for them. I am bummed. I love the Iconics. I love the inspiration. I think Billie Kay is truly one of the funniest wrestlers to cross my TV in a really long time. They are both very good wrestlers. I wish them the best in everything that they do. I'm bummed, but whatever. Say lovey.
Same. I will hit mine very quickly. We're actually gonna make this an actual lightning round. So the baddies, I talked about them last week, but without spoiling Rampage, so I'm not going to say who, whether they win or lose. But the baddies are an actual thing now.
Woo-woo!
Like it's you're right. So it's going to be Kiera Hogan and Red Velvet and Jade Cargill as an actual team. Oh, I'm so excited for that.
I love it. I'm so excited about it. They better get good merch.
Yeah, well, if Jade is in charge, they need to get good merch. She doesn't play.
Better.
And then Wardlow's face run is like the like really the entire Wardlow MJF thing is dope, but Wardlow as a face is like I didn't really think it was going to work, to be completely honest.
Well, and honestly, for a while I was like, oh, they're really dragging this out, whatever. And but I would hear from some of my friends like, I don't really get Wardlow, I don't really like him, and I would be like, well, one, he's banging hot because like the man is banging hot, but also like he's a good wrestler, like he's been this lackey. Don't you want to see his like whatever? And my friends were like, yeah, I guess. And so I'm glad now in retrospect, especially considering like his performance last week on Dynamite or last night, whatever. I'm glad for the slow build because I think it is really giving people who are like Wardlow, this guy, a chance to see like, yeah, this guy.
Yeah, and he's just killing it. I love that he comes out with no music. I love that he comes out with security guards. I love that he wrestles. He destroys people.
I want him to bust out of the handcuffs like a Hulk, though.
That's coming eventually.
It better.
So that's the build up. Like it's just they and we to juxtapose WWE, and I'm laughing just because people say, "Hey, we're AEW shows or we're WWE shows." Look,
Stella and I are both, no one but myself.
Exactly, and Stella and I are both writers. We're both storytellers. As people who are storytellers and writers, and who are nerds who read stories and stories all day, from comic books to movies or whatever, we appreciate good stories. AEW at this moment, as of right now, is better at telling stories. That's it. Like for me, they are better at telling stories. Doesn't mean that they always do the best stuff, but they are more consistent at telling stories that have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Even if I dislike the story,
right?
They're still better at telling it. Exactly. Yes. Like the thing with Dan Lambert and American Top Team and how they're like this quasi face group now. Again, I don't like it, but they're telling a story. Right,
yeah, we complained last week that they are like doing the heel turn and stuff like too quick. I kind of think that that's true, but they did backpedal a little bit, and now like Scorpio Sky's more of like a tweener, not a full face, so they're like trying to do it slower, which is smart because like I feel like a lot of people were like, ha. Again, like we talked with the Brown and Gacy thing, like did I miss an issue? Did I miss it? Yes. Like so, I think that I agree with you. They are better at telling complete stories.
Yeah, and I know there's going to be an ending. And this thing that they're doing with Wardlow and MJF, which you can, and they're better at long form story.
Yes,
that's the thing. So even if you say, well, hey, like obviously the Roman thing is the long form story in wrestling at the moment. No one's going to deny that. But AEW does that consistently, where they would tell a story over the course of 2 or 3 years. And I appreciate that attention to detail. This MJF and Wardlow thing isn't new. It's been building since the day MJF bought Wardlow in AEW.
Yep.
It was always going to come to this. This was always where we were headed. How we were going to get there was, the question. And now I see how we're getting there and what it's doing for both men. It's making MJF an even bigger heel, which I didn't think was possible. It's making Wardlow, who, JR always says is the future of this company, it's making him be like, yeah, JR is right. That's the guy.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, that's the guy that they're gonna go all in on him. No pun intended. And it's just it's dope, man. It's just working. So props to everybody. He had it. I'd be wrong if I didn't mention Murder Hawk. Like Murder Hawk consistently has good matches with AEW.
He's just not. He's always there to put some somebody else over. Like, he made John
Exactly.
Moxley look good. Well, John Moxley looks good, but like, he looked good in that match, and that helped John Moxley. He looked good in this match that helped Wardlow. That's kind of, he's one of the big monsters you got to beat.
Yeah, and I know I don't like that basically every MJF story is him doing, okay, I'm gonna call up some people and you're gonna get through them before you get to me. I think we need something else. The whole streets of rage boss fight thing kind of played out, but it works when the people involved are compelling and have their own narrative. Wardlow is not Chris Jericho, so it doesn't feel like the labors of Jericho, even though it kind of is the labors of Jericho.
Well, and now they're bringing in, we think, rumor, based on like what the promo MJF cut. I don't know his.
It's Morrissey.
Morrissey.
Yeah.
Big Cass Morrissey.
Yeah.
Can't teach that because he's very.
Can't teach that. Yeah, and then apparently on Rampage, I'm going to mention it because we're not going to record for Rampage. Sean Spears says Wardlow's next opponent has the opportunity to possibly be in the Pinnacle. So, there you go.
Oh yeah, the Pinnacle is still a thing, kind of.
Right.
But it's just Sean Spears and MJF.
It's just Sean Spears and MJF at this point, because FTR are kind of like, we're here, but we're not here. And FTR are full on faces now. So it doesn't work. Yeah.
FTR is not there anymore. It's just FTR is ghosting the Pinnacle, just like Sammy ghosted the Inner Circle. He just stopped showing up to meetings and then was like, I'm not here anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah. I'm not in the group anymore. Bye. Yeah. I'm going to New Japan and I'm going to pick them. They're my new girlfriend.
All right, that's it for this week. We'll be back next week, same place, same time.
And if you'd like to be on the podcast at the same place, same time, make sure to send your wrestling questions and thoughts to CagesideSocials@gmail.com. Recorded questions are encouraged, like the one heard this week. Thank you, Brad. But written ones are always welcome, even though you're not as great as Brad if you don't record it.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at Stella_Cheeks.
And I'm at Abstract Poetica 3, where that E is supposed to be.
And of course, you can find more wrestling coverage at Cageside Seats on Twitter and Instagram.
And if we missed something you desperately want to talk about, which we probably did because, we didn't hit a lot of stuff this week, head over to CagesideSeats.com and chat with us in the comments of this episode post.
Until next time, Cagesiders.
The tapes are always rolling.